We are moving into our next panel, which is the statewide privately funded programs. We have four speakers in the next 35 minutes. We have Carrie Bartoletti, Sonia Hernandez, Shelby Siffers, Jared Venatter. So you've already heard from Sonia and Carrie, so I'm not going to reread their bios. I'm going to just share about Shelby started with Mississippi Spay and Neuter, MS SPAN, as a volunteer in 2013, working to launch an annual fundraiser for the organization. She was hired in 2014 and has worn a variety of hats over the years. She lives in rural Mississippi with her boyfriend, 8 dogs, 2 tame cats, and a barn full of ferals. And Jared Venatter. Jared is the full-time clinic director and president of Help for Animals, located in Barboursville, West Virginia. He began working in the animal welfare field in 2002, working as a veterinary assistant at multiple clinics until joining the United States Air Force in 2006. While in the Air Force, he deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan. While stationed stateside, he visited the veterinary clinic and stayed in touch with the doctors, who influenced him to continue to serve the community's pets. While in the Air Force, Jared started college, and shortly after completing his contract with the Air Force, he earned a degree in business administration from Marshall University. While attending school full-time, he also worked part-time at Help for Animals as the surgery manager. Jared was eventually promoted to clinic manager, and shortly thereafter, the board of directors voted him president. Since then, he has made great strides in expanding the organization's operations throughout the state and in fostering greater communication between the many shelters and rescue groups in West Virginia. So I believe Jared is going to be joining us first. He will be turning his webcam on. And
my name is Jared. I've been with Help for Animals off and on since 2002, primarily working as a vet assistant throughout the years, and then joined the Air Force, like Stacy said. So since joining the clinic full time as the clinic manager and president, I seen the need to bring the organizations that are in our area, all the rescues and the shelters, together to try to stay on one page and to help them help us, so on and so on. So we had a couple meetings, a large amount of the organizations in the area, to see where the needs were for grants, or setting them up with weekly appointments at our clinic. A little bit about our clinic. We started in 1974. A group of ladies saw the need for there to be funding to help those that couldn't afford spay and neuter. So in 1974, they started raising funds privately through fundraisers and so on, and that continued for many years afterwards. In 1997, they actually bought a clinic and started it, and that was Help for Animals Spay and Neuter Clinic. Since then, we've done about 184,000 animals to date. We average about 1,000 to 12,000 a year, or 10,000 to 12,000 a year, and that's strictly spay and neuter. We also provide wellness clinics daily, and we do tumor removal, soft tissue, you name it. We're almost full service clinic now, and that took about 10 years to get us to that point. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our Spay West Virginia site, which is a database that anybody can go to or call and find a clinic near them, or a rescue, or a transport that'll get them help with spay and neutering. And the way that we accomplished that, in the beginning, some of the funding came from grants and fundraisers and donors that helped maintain that Spay West Virginia website. Since then, Help for Animals as an organization in whole has expanded so much that we can provide our own funding for that website and many other programs. So like I said, we do roughly 10 to 12,000 animals a year on spay and neuter, and we keep those prices low. I think this year will be the first year in many, many years that we've even altered our prices at all. So this year, I think our prices are going up $1 to $2, and that's per spay or neuter pricing. Our vaccines will stay the same. We do offer a free spay or a free rabies to everything that's spayed and neutered, and that goes for our TNR program as well. Our TNR program is led by a lady named Nancy Simmons. A lot of people in West Virginia know her for her trapping. She averages about 900 trapping sessions a year. I think last year we did, even with COVID going on, we did around 789 feral cats and community cats. And she also helps out with a lot of hoarder situations and brings them in, and we get them fixed and on to either rescues or shelters that'll find rescues for them. And that was one of the main reasons of joining forces with a lot of the shelters and rescues, is to find all these animals that are homeless or in hoarding situations, places to go. And that's very important in our area, because it seems almost every week we have another hoarding case or something else going on. And our rescues in our area are great at finding places for these animals to go and finding the care they need. So, and one way to produce our funding for these sites and other programs is, when we first started, we were definitely, sorry, we were definitely relying on grants and funders. Since then, we've expanded our operations into more full service area, and those revenues from that enable us to go out and do our TNR sessions. We roughly give away about a little over $100,000 every year in either discounted services or full discount or free of charge services. And most of the times, those are life-threatening issues that are tumor removals or broken limbs, so on, and we'll fund those at no cost due to the funds that we gain from our normal services. A lot of that relies on our community to help us out, whether it be through donations or supporting our other programs. One of the really big programs that we're pushing for starting in March is we're partnered with VDM Management. It's a large management organization in our area. They run most of the Little Caesars in West Virginia. And every year they do a fundraiser for the local canine units, not just local, but statewide. This year they're doing a statewide fundraiser to buy tracking collars for all the canine units, one per department, and it's roughly going to be about $26,000 worth of funds that we're going to try to raise for them, partner with them to raise. And for many years, I think about 10 years now, we've offered free services to all canine units in our area, so we support our canine and officers very highly. So we continue to expand our operations. The Spay West Virginia website is one great way that people can go to and find different, whether it be a transporter or a clinic or somebody that has low cost for them via vouchers or whatever the means. That database is very important for people to search for. I think it's one of the first ones that pop up when you type in spay or neuter in West Virginia. The second one being our clinic, of course. But we have more and more clinics opening up. There's one in Parkersburg now. There's one in Kanawha City or Kanawha County, Charleston, West Virginia. And one of the big problems that most of our clinics face is finding doctors. Doctors is one of the biggest struggle, bringing doctors in that'll do this type of work. I think one of the big things that our types of organizations can do is create something that can foster those types of doctors and being able to pay off their student loans or other type of initiatives to come into states that are underserved or low income states that can help out these communities greatly, because it is definitely a struggle to get vets in that are willing to do this at the pay that our organizations or a state organization can actually fund. We've gotten lucky. We've got 3 full-time vets and a part-time vet. Some of the other clinics in our state are really struggling to find vets, and that'll hurt our mission greatly if we're not able to produce those types of vets. Another thing is, in doing these extra services, that we open up slots for our rescues because they're the ones out there on the ground making the difference, and they need places that can care for their animals that they're bringing in. And a lot of the groups in our area partner with just a couple different vet clinics that will offer those services. So if more organizations like ours could open up, they could fill in those gaps that they desperately need. Some of the clinics I know are backdated or booked out until June of this year, and that's just crazy, especially with COVID happening and all the other issues that our areas haven't seen here in the last month or two. When you have to wait 4 to 6 months to even get on the schedule, that's not good for our area. Luckily, we don't have that big of an issue here because we only open our schedule out for 1 month. But if we could get more clinics in the area, get more of those types of people that want to do this, that would greatly help our state tremendously. And kudos to Teresa for getting the spay neuter assistance program for West Virginia up and going. That's helped our communities greatly. We utilize it as well. I think we did about 400 spay and neuter community cats off that grant. A lot of the rescue groups in the area also use that grant and either come to us or go to a couple of different clinics. We're open 5 days a week. We can't meet the demand that there is in our area. And like I said, we've been doing it almost 20 years, and the demand for spay and neuter is still skyrocketing. There's no way we can capture everyone that's out there that needs it, but we're doing the best we can and hope to expand and help out each community in our area that is in need. One of the big things is finding a way to schedule the public versus the rescues, because the rescues are just as high as demand as the public are. So we used to do a shot clinic every month where we wouldn't charge any office fees for vaccines, dewormers, flea meds, so on and so on, a lot of the wellness type stuff. Since COVID happened, we can't open our doors to let those people in. So one thing we did do is we opened up that Saturday just for rescues to come in, and we'll do upwards of 90 cats on a Saturday. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the weather and whatnot. But we do everything we can to promote spay and neutering, education on spay and neutering, and overall humane support for the animals in our area, along with shelters and the rescues that have to see it face to face.
Yesterday, I was fortunate. I got to talk quite a bit about Spay Connecticut and how we get our funding, which is mostly through private funding sources. So I just wanted to kind of just do a brief overview so I can give more time to Shelby and Sonia. So I wanted to emphasize a little bit more that it's all about building the relationships. I think that's kind of been a theme throughout the conference, building relationships with your donors, with your community, and having a strong message. So a lot of us joke sometimes in rescue that we like dealing with the animals much more than we do with the people, because we tend to see a lot of bad things happening, but there's also so much good out there. So with Spay and Neuter, it's all about making it better for the animals and the people that need our help in the communities and for our community overall. Frank Hamilton mentioned yesterday that this could be a full-time job, looking for this kind of money to support your organization. And it can be, and I'm fortunate that it is my full-time job. I'm very grateful to Protectors of Animals for giving me that opportunity. But I don't want people who are just starting their programs to get overwhelmed by that, because a lot of people are working at other jobs and other professions and kind of doing this in addition. So it's more about focusing on a plan. So it's an investment of your time. So take that time to plan and take it step by step and build those relationships, and don't feel you have to reinvent the wheel to do all of this, because there's a lot of resources out there to help you. Yesterday I mentioned the book that I used by Sandy Rees, and I don't have any association with her. I just found the book to be really helpful to take you through start to finish. But there's so many things out there that it's really worth the time to go through that, invest a little bit on how you're going to do the fundraising, and it'll make you feel a little bit better to do that. And I'm not an expert by any means, but my email address, I'm sure, is published on everything to do with the conference. I'm not sure if it is or isn't, but it'll be on my slides. And please feel free to reach out anytime for that information or anything I can help you with. So I'm going to actually give it over to, I think, Shelby.
So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to do just a brief overview of our program, and then maybe more useful with Q&A. So that maybe if someone is interested in starting a program, they can learn from some of our mistakes and some of our successes as well. As far as I learned from Esther, I believe she said that Mississippi had the first statewide spay and neuter program. And that started in 2005. So I'm sure, like a lot of spay and neuter organizations, we're really just working to save lives. And Mississippi has a very high rate of euthanasia. We have an insanely explosive overpopulation, and we're just really behind in a lot of ways. So it is an uphill battle, but our goal in the end is to save as many lives as possible through prevention. Here's a little bit about us. We did start in 2005, right like a month before Hurricane Katrina hit. And Hurricane Katrina had a really huge impact on the animal welfare world, and a lot of things changed because of how poorly animals and people were treated during that crisis. So in response to that, Miss Elaine, our founder, who's on the left in that photo, she started this program, and the program started with 2 mobile clinics. So there was a big fixed rig and a little fixed rig. They would go to a community and fix animals for several months, and then they'd move it to the next community. And that went on for a little over a year until they opened a standalone clinic in 2008. A very tiny clinic, I think about 1,700 square feet. But until we opened that clinic, our rigs were able to perform a little over 4,000 surgeries. So they did travel around. It wasn't the most efficient way to do the surgeries, but it did help, especially with the explosive population moving to Mississippi from New Orleans during that crisis, and coastal Louisiana. In 2010, we branched out and tried to really provide coverage for the whole state so that everyone was within a reasonable distance to some kind of low-cost option. And that it was a partnership between our clinic and also a voucher program that we had. So there were several clinics throughout the state who accepted our vouchers in both rural areas and more dense communities. And combined with that, we were able to service about 82% of the population with low-cost spay and neuter. In 2011, our little fixed rig finally retired, performing about 5,300 surgeries after it moved around 14 times. We did start doing extra services, and that was one way for us to provide funding for ourselves and become more sustainable, because we were able to do extras like microchips, extra vaccines besides the rabies, nail trims, things like that, that people might be willing to pay for. And we also started our transport program during that time. We learned from having the big fixed rig and the little fixed rig that it was very difficult to maintain these huge burdensome vehicles and to travel around with them, and also provide the staffing and the all the logistics that come with a temporary and movable clinic. So we found that it was more economical and more efficient for us to just transport from outlying communities. So once a month, we would go to 4 different communities, and we would pick up real early in the morning, bring the animals to our clinic, and then bring them back the same day. And we did that until 2020. In 2014, we opened a thrift store in hopes that that would help us provide some more revenue, and it has. Not as much revenue as we would like. It is a smaller thrift store, and in order to, I guess, have the reach that we needed in terms of marketing, we partnered with a large shelter so that they could help us spread the word about our thrift store. They have a much bigger reach than we do, and people are maybe a little more responsive to their cause. So the partnership was really great, and we also split the profits 50-50. We did do annual conferences every year from 2008 to 2017. So we celebrated our 10th conference in 2017. And that was a way for us to get everyone in Mississippi together, which didn't happen very often, from the animal welfare community, see if we could develop some shared strategies, share notes, things like that. There are a lot of hodgepodge groups and you know, communities of animal welfare organizations working together, but it was really nice to share information every year. So we did purchase a bigger clinic in 2019. Until then, we were still in the like 1,800 square foot building, which was very tricky. But now we're in a much larger building with about 5,000 square feet for our clinic and offices, which is really nice. Last year, we opened a wellness clinic. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has made that a little more complicated, but providing just wellness services for animals as long as they're spayed and neutered, and that helps provide a little bit of revenue for subsidizing spay and neuter as well. Just a couple pictures of our clinic and our clients. Up here on the left is our new clinic, in surgery, and our prep room behind that. And here on the right is a little dog getting off of his heating pad. Here are some programs that we've tried over the years. We have lately tried to, I guess, kind of streamline our services and do one thing better than spreading out over a lot of programs. One is the Big Fix Clinic. We do about 5,000 surgeries a year. It was a little bit lower in 2020 because we did have to close, and that's been a little bit of a challenge. Our new clinic allows us to do 10,000 surgeries a year. So with navigating COVID, we're working to ramp back up to that 10,000 number. We do provide financial assistance based on what people can pay, not based on their current income. We are very lucky to have a foundation who provides a majority of the funding that we need that's not made in our program services, which allows us to be able to do that. We also get donations and grants. Our referral service, we try to keep an accurate and up-to-date listing of all the low-cost spay neuter services in the state. So we provide those referrals by phone or on our website and try to keep that up. And we did have a voucher program, which has retired, but that helped kind of fill in the gaps in rural areas in Mississippi where people didn't really have anything within reach. So we did have some veterinarians who partnered with us in order to provide surgery at a discounted rate, and we helped to pay for the rest of it. So just a few things we learned in the past. It did take us a long time to get people comfortable with the concept of spay and neuter. And we started with our clinic maybe only doing surgeries 1 day a week or 2 days a week, just really as many people as we could find and convinced that their pets needed to be fixed. Now we do surgery 4 days a week, and our waiting list is about 2 months long. So we have kind of the opposite problem now, which we're really excited about. We have had a lot of problems being a statewide program to be able to fundraise statewide because we don't have a physical presence in many communities. That is the reason why we've had to streamline more to fewer programs that are closer to us locally, where we do have a stake in the community. We did have a limited workspace up until we moved into our new clinic. That could make things a challenge, both with our medical staff and folks on the admin staff who didn't have places to work. Over the years, we've tried a lot of different programs, technology, and sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it hasn't. But I think what we've learned is that everything's worth trying once to see if it helps. And if you like it, keep it. If you don't, move on. We have moved to Clinic HQ, which I'm sure that some spay neuter clinics use. It's designed just for spay neuter clinics, and we love it. It helps streamline from our check-in in the morning all the way to our checkout in the afternoon. We did have a lot of challenges with the culture of Mississippians and how they feel about spay and neuter. Mississippi is a very independent state. People are they really value their personal freedoms. And so sometimes spay and neuter can feel like an affront to that. So it has been a bit of a challenge communicating that to Mississippians, but I think that over the course of the years, the word of mouth that our clients have been able to provide has really helped build that trust for spay and neuter and the benefits it provides for our animals. As I mentioned before, a challenge was that we were spread too thinly. We had programs reaching all the way to the edges of the state, but we were only located in central Mississippi. So we had to cut some of our programs and really focus on how we were able to help the most animals, which was in our Big Fix clinic and allowing anyone to come to it as long as they could get there. Right now, our challenges are very different, especially with COVID-19. We have had one of our most challenging year or two in terms of fundraising, and spay and neuter grants are definitely less available than they were when we started in 2005. So it's been a challenge to sort of adapt to that new environment and also to get folks not only engaged in the fact that they should spay and neuter their pets, but they should support spay and neuter basically for their community, for others, and for all animals. The messaging has been a bit of a challenge for the same reason, gaining the trust of Mississippians and getting them to understand how far their dollars can go when they focus on spay neuter. We have had issues with staffing and volunteers. We got to a point where we are large and we would love to have more staff and volunteers, but we can't afford it. So we are having challenges with that and hope we can overcome those as we continue to move forward. Many of y'all may have the same issue with your call volume. We have phones ringing off the hook all times of day, and we are trying to help with that volume by providing online appointment requests through Clinic HQ and texting options and other ways that people can reach us so that we can get appointments made more efficiently. We do have an extremely high demand for our services. We do have a 2-month wait. We hope that we'll be able to hire a new veterinarian soon and be able to keep people spaced out enough to keep things safe during COVID. And right now, because we've streamlined our services, we're helping to mentor other organizations in rural Mississippi to start their own voucher programs. So the process of identifying those programs and helping them along has been certainly a challenge. And COVID, of course, is a challenge that I feel like we fared okay in. I think we did about 4,200 surgeries last year, and we are trucking along, trying to stay healthy. So our goals for the future is, like I said, to have a second full-time veterinarian, which will allow us to do 10,000 surgeries a year. We'd like to do probably an everyday wellness clinic to help people who couldn't afford to take their animal to a vet and to help keep them out of shelters. And then, as I mentioned, trying to get more organizations on board with starting their own voucher programs where they have a stake in their own communities and may have a better chance fundraising and raising that awareness. And that's all I have, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Great. So thank you very much, everybody. And once again, thank you everyone out there listening that is taken in this weekend's conference. So I'll go ahead and jump on in. My presentation will be a little bit shorter because we are a little bit different, but I was asked to still present on how we do things here in Arizona, especially with my role, because I am intertwined with both statewide efforts as well as county-specific efforts for Maricopa County, which I am the project manager for Fix It Op Save. So with that, I will jump into the statewide portion. So Spay Arizona isn't necessarily a program that funds Spay Arizona. It's a statewide resource for Arizona residents seeking spay neuter information and some assistance to be able to find and utilize the services available within their counties. That information is actually provided through the Animal Defense League of Arizona and its Spay and Neuter hotline. They have been part of Arizona and part of a statewide resource, or have been, sorry, the statewide main resource here in Arizona for well over 20 years. And in Maricopa County, ADLA is actually the leading TNR organization that's responsible for over 10,000 TNR surgeries per year. So with that, ADLA is our main link, our main organization that we work with when it comes to providing those referral services to people across Arizona. As for funding for statewide programs, there is none directly to one organization that oversees spay and neuter initiatives per se across the whole state. So what we are able to do, or what the state does here, is funds are raised through two methods that are then granted out through a committee, through a grant process, to multiple organizations within every county of the state to ensure every county is represented, sorry, in order to help all of the residents. So with that out here, there is the Spay and Neuter Fund, which is through the voluntary contribution via the tax form. I did provide a link and some of the information. I know you heard that in the panel discussion before this one and through other conversations this weekend. For us, this last year in 2019 was the first year that it came into an effect. That alone was able to provide a little over $100,000, which was phenomenal. We weren't sure what exactly that would bring in, but at least now we know it's about a little over $100,000. That was in addition to the license plate fund, which has been an ongoing fund for many, many years. That one brings in a little over $350,000, give or take, also a year. So again, through those two combined funds, they are distributed to multiple organizations and partners around the state to be able to assist all the different communities. Now here specifically to Maricopa County and frankly all the other counties, they are all funded within their own organizations and all their own individual efforts. That includes what many of us are doing: grants, crowdsourcing, galas, fundraisers, endowments, bequests, and more. Here in Maricopa County, which I can speak to directly as well, is our Fix It Op Save initiative is privately funded. So we are a collaborative initiative and program where we have been funded from the very beginning, which started back in 2012 by two primary funders. Our two funders are Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust and PetSmart Charities. So through the urging of many in the community, knowing where we were with the high number of intake and the number of euthanasias back then, we knew something had to be done. As we know, receiving grants was difficult back then, still is now, especially with spay and neuter, since it has once again taken a step back in priority for many funders, but collaboration is what was key. So we were lucky enough to be able to receive that private funding, and Fix It Op Save is still ongoing, and it is still ongoing through the private funding. We are in our last year of funding from PetSmart Charities, so we actually are being sunsetted by them with final funds were currently received, which will put us through 2022. And Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust is our primary funder at this time and has promised to keep us going because they know as well too, we frankly all refuse to go back to where we were a few years back, where we were having, just thousands and thousands being euthanized. So with that, I will go ahead and just jump into quickly because I know time is running short. Everyone can take a look at this closer once you receive copies. This also can be found on our Fix It Op Save website. Once again, this is centric to Maricopa County. So this is not statewide information. This is centric to Maricopa County and our primary partners, which do include Maricopa County Animal Control, Humane Society, Arizona Animal Welfare League, Animal Defense League of Arizona and its TNR program, Alter Tales Barnhart Clinics, which do themselves provide over 20,000 surgeries per year just here in Maricopa County. PAC 911, which is an umbrella organization for approximately 80 plus rescue groups, and also Halo Rescue. And so with that, you will be able to see why spay and neuter is important, how you can use this information when trying to obtain funders, both privately and publicly, showing that spay and neuter has a direct correlation with the results of intake. As you will see in the years where we had the highest number for spay and neuters, over 46,000 a year, just in Maricopa County, just within our partners, the following years, the intake substantially dropped. As that goes hand in hand is euthanasia as well. Now with COVID, obviously that was definitely threw a curveball for everybody, but we were lucky enough that actually a lot of our partnerships with our private clinics that we also work with around the valley, our partnerships were strengthened. We knew we had to keep the momentum going. We were not going to stop. And that just, it had to move forward, especially here in Maricopa County when we are a population of over 4 million. We know what happens when we stop for 1 month. So with that, even last year, we were, through collaborative efforts, able to provide over 30,000 surgeries to residents across the valley. This is owned animals, so the public surgeries and TNR cats. These do not include shelter surgeries. Most of these, approximately 60% of these surgeries were also subsidized in one form or another. So through Fix Adopt Save direct funding, we were able to provide a little over 8,000 surgeries at absolutely no cost to the public. 5,200 of those were provided through 85 mobiles and through our voucher program. The rest were provided directly through either allocations from funding we received or allocations through funding that the individual clinics received on their own as well too. But again, out here, we've been able to see through the data that we maintain and that we look at that approximately 60% of all our surgeries per year are subsidized in one form or another. So with that, that's kind of my short little version there of what kind of happens here in Arizona. Collaboration is key. You will keep hearing that throughout this conference. And frankly, anytime you talk to any of us afterwards, you have to work together. That is the only way we're going to be able to solve the problem, or at least keep a good managed handle on it. But for the funder side of things, that is where a lot of the funding seems to be going now, and has been for a while, is putting that money into a collaboration, togetherness, so that they can as well be able to get more of that impact they want for their dollars. So thank you very much, and hope everyone has a great day.
So how do you prove spay and neuter affect when you do not have a county shelter or an animal control shelter in your area? We're a no-kill shelter, and we are the only shelter. We are small, and we are always full.
So how do you prove it's effective? Is that what the question was?
Correct.
You're going to have to start somewhere. So start with a baseline number. What are the number of animals coming in? And then put those programs forth and start taking the data. Check every quarter. What does it look like? Did intake drop a little bit? Did euthanasia drop a little bit? You can also put questionnaires attached to the vouchers of the services you're providing. So here, real quickly, we provide our services through, like I mentioned, mobiles, voucher programs, and through clinics directly. But with each of those services, a certain form needs to be filled out that comes back to us, that allows us to track further data that's more of kind of on the ground information that we need from the public that they may not want to tell you one-on-one, but through those little check boxes on those on the vouchers, they're able to provide that information. But you're going to have to find a baseline. So however it's possible, use your own data, and then again, put those programs forth. And then on a quarterly basis, you can't even monthly, but on a quarterly basis is good. Start checking that against where it was when you first started, and then you'll be able to track those differences. And that's how we do our data. So I actually obtain the data from all the shelters within our programs on a monthly basis, but quarterly I provide dashboards, look at what we're looking at, and so on.
Does anybody else want to add to that? I could add, because I know running a no-kill shelter, you are always full because you're usually operating at limited capacity. So you also might want to look at some other factors like the animal control reports. So either number of cats killed by cats and kittens, killed by cars, or, you know, I hate to say, but the dead body retrievals, those numbers usually go down when you have a high volume spay neuter program in your community. The complaint calls go down usually pretty quickly. So those are factors to track if you don't have a big municipal shelter in your area. Look at whatever information your animal control is legally reported, necessary to report on a public basis. And you can also look at Craigslist postings by geographic area and see if those numbers go down to, some people look at that as another metric. So you can be kind of creative on those metrics. Tribal knowledge for community cats too. So you do your colony tracking. And those colony numbers should go down if you're doing aggressive trap, neuter, return program in the area. So you can use that as a metric also. So there's a lot of outside of the box factors you can use to help track your success, because I do know that foster-based rescues and no-kill shelters can always be full. All right, let me see if we'll find another question on that. Question for Carrie, Shelby, and Jared. What are your sources of funding? Is it grants from local businesses or larger corporations, or local fundraising, or all from above? All of above. All of the above? You have to unmute yourself, Jared. All of the above? Let's see if we can unmute you. Let's see. You're unmuted on our side. I don't know why we can't hear you. This must be a West Virginia thing today.
Probably. We got big storms coming. It's flooding out there now. Just got past the ice storm. It's a little bit of everything right now. Can you hear me at all now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So we use a little bit of everything, from Amazon Smile to PayPal to Network for Good, to local fundraisers, whether it be through mass mailers, so on, reaching out to the local businesses, and then donations from our websites or donations from people that are actually coming in to have services done, or adoptions, or us taking in animals. We ask for a donation at that time too. So we get a little bit of everything. Now, I'd say our bigger ones are grants, whether it be through Petco, PetSmart, or the West Virginia Spay Neuter Assistance Program. 2 mods, there's just a variety out there, and if you're not looking for it, you're not getting it.
Excellent. Everybody loves your cat, Shelby. What's your cat's name?
This is Daniel. This is her natural spot, so I wasn't even gonna fight it. She sits between me and the keyboard. But yes, I think she knows she's on camera. I will say we use all those funding sources as well. We do have a small license plate fund in Mississippi, and we use our thrift store. And in normal years, we have one gala fundraiser. This year is going to look a little different, maybe. But yes, all of those sources. But our largest source of income comes from people who are willing to pay full price at the clinic and get those extra services. Right.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. Great panel. And we